All right, everybody. Good Wednesday evening. I'm Meteorologist Alex Carter with you here in the Fox 54 Digital Weather Center. We got lots to get to. We've been talking about the winter weather events here in the CSRA really over the past few weeks, and it's either going to be third time's a charm or three strikes you're out, or maybe somewhere in the middle, depending on where you are, of course, in the CSRA. So letting everybody filter in for just a moment, and then we're going to get down to the forecast, the nuts and the bolts of it, the different scenarios, how things could shake out. I know you've been anxious. I know you're probably ready to say, some of you are probably ready to hear me say we're going to have a winter wonderland, and others are hoping that this goes well off to the east. And the truth usually lies somewhere in the middle. I do think the chance of seeing snow is increasingly likely here in the CSRA, however. I will say that, but there's still a window for this to all shift a little bit further to the south and east. So again, something to watch out for and something to look into. So any preparations that you made last weekend and you still have those supplies, you might need them this weekend, okay? So I do want to make you aware of that as we head into Saturday. And I'm going to let a few more of y'all filter in. Good evening, Michael. Thanks for joining us. And again, tonight we're going to be talking about more of that chance for the winter weather. Michael Bright, Swainsboro. Swainsboro is going to be on the fringe of this event. I'm way more confident in a chance of snow if you are anywhere from, say, McCormick, Edgefield, Aiken counties, Lincoln County. I think these are the hot spots for the snowfall. Perhaps even Barnwell County as well. So those areas, I think, are the highest likelihood. We're going to dive into all that coming up. So trust me on that. We're going to dive into that coming up. So if you're just joining us, good evening. We're about to go ahead and get started here with another edition of Weather Aware Live. But first, let's go ahead and knock out the next couple of days, shall we? Something a little bit less eventful than Saturday. Here's the next couple of days. Thursday and Friday, we're going to start out with a little bit more sunshine in the mornings than we are in the afternoons. And in this setup, again, we're not going to see a whole lot of rain. It's going to be bone dry tomorrow. Friday's going to be dry for almost all of the day, and then we're going to start to see a few light showers rolling in starting Friday evening. So Friday evening looks to be all liquid. We don't see any snow changeover. Highs are actually going to warm up to the low 50s, so that's what's going to get us staying above freezing through the evening Friday. But that changeover with any precipitation, that would start to happen overnight Friday and early Saturday morning. So what's causing this pattern? What's causing this winter storm pattern that we've been in? Well, the jet stream is a big piece to this, and let's go ahead and show you kind of why. I'm going to point to a couple things here. The northern branch of the jet and the southern branch of the jet. Normally, it's one or the other that moves in and dominates our pattern. So sometimes, like we had January 10th, record highs in the low 80s, right? The southern branch of the jet stream, which is right in here, that branch took over. This time around, and over the past 3 weeks, it's been the northern jet. And the northern jet is what's taking over, but the southern branch is meeting it in the middle. And when they start to meet in the middle, that's when you can have multiple winter weather systems, or at least close calls for it, in the deep south. And that's exactly what we've had the past couple of weeks. Saw a little bit of ice in our northern counties last weekend. Saw some snow in our northwestern counties a couple weekends ago. And this weekend brings the highest chance for what everybody roots for around here, right? Which is a fluffy snow. This one would be a fluffier texture, and we'll get into that in just a moment too. But here's the jet stream, and notice how it's going to take a dive. It's this big upper-level low. That upper-level low is going to be moving right over the deep south. That's the culprit for when we see winter storms, and that's what exactly is on the table. Now, depending on how far south this upper-level low dives down, that's going to dictate our winter weather chances. So the further south this area of upper-level low pressure moves, the higher the chance that the surface low is going to hug the coastline and give us a chance at snow. Now, you've probably seen this graphic coming up on Fox 54 News. We showed it the past couple of days, and we're going to continue to show it until we get more certainty, which looks to be tomorrow, by the way. I think we're really going to start to put out some totals for Thursday night, for Friday. I think that's when you'll start to expect some snowfall total forecast from us, by the way. But right now, we still need a little bit more data, still need a little bit more to monitor here. Kelly Davis Stewart says, come on, Alex, let's just jump to summer. I'm in full agreement with you. If we could see some 80-degree temperatures, that would be just a welcome sight right now. Let's see. Tony, I love that comment. Thanks, man. Good to hear from you. Matthew Meyer says, we need this. I can't handle another snow miss. This is why it's always a fine line here, because there's so many different factors that account for deep south snow, and it's very tough to come by. So, again, we'll dive into that here in just a moment. Lisa, yep, we're talking all things potential snow. And Tony, he is a new force in Carolina beach music. Michael Bright here with the singles. Really cool music that he's got going on as well. Tracy, you're hoping for snow? Yep, I think a lot of people who are joining this live are all in on that. So we got a lot of snow rooting going on here. Jennifer in Washington and Wilkes County, I think you have a decent shot at that on Saturday if everything goes just right. You're a little further west, but again, if everything falls right, I think we're going to be looking at a snow here, possibly. So thank you guys for the comments. Christy, ready for the spring. Awesome. Patrice, will Waynesboro see snow? And again, we're going to go a little bit more into depth about personal locations, personal cities, especially tomorrow and Friday. Right now is more about the general trends because that's what we have the most certainty in. So to put it into perspective here, you see this map here. This is the low tracks. So the different areas or the different tracks that this Gulf low could take. If it hugs the coastline, if it gives the coast a big hug, winter impacts such as snow are very likely here. I would think all of us would get in on some snowfall if that track holds. Our Futurecast model in-house is showing that exact track, which we'll show you in just a second, and I think you're going to really like it if you're rooting for snow. That doesn't mean that it's going to happen. We're going to show you these outcomes here. Bottom line is, the further away from the coast that low goes, the less of an opportunity we have for snowfall. Right now, does that appear as likely as the other outcome? No, it doesn't. But that doesn't mean that can't change in the next couple of days. Snow forecasting is so tough because there's so many different features in it. You're forecasting an upper level low that's 16 to 20,000 feet in the air. 16 to 20,000, okay? That's tough to do. And it's a top-down approach, top-down forecasting. We start off at the top of the atmosphere and work our way down to the surface, and that makes it really tough when it's hard to get the upper levels right. It makes it extremely hard to get the surface right. But this is the surface look, and here's the different outcomes that we could see. Now, here's everybody's best case number one scenario right here. This is if the low hugs the coastline, stays very close nearby. The Arctic frigid air, which is going to be our coldest of the season, by the way, that's going to be locked in place. We know, regardless of the snow chances, it is going to be bitter cold, and those wind chills are not going to behave. It is going to be uncomfortable out there, to say the least. We were talking about this last week. A 95-degree day with a 102 heat index. That sounds mighty fine right now to some of us. And for others, you're wanting this. And guess what? You just might get it. Because that low is going to be hugging the coast potentially, and if it does, snow is likely here in the CSRA on Saturday. But let's go into the other outcome, because again, there are still multiple outcomes. We don't want you guys to think that it's a surefire bet just yet. There's reason for optimism, and there's reason to be hopeful here. There really is. And if the upper level low trends in the model data like we've been thinking and it dives south, that's going to give us an opportunity for this outcome that you see on your screen right here. Now let's talk about the other outcome for a second. This is if the low goes a little bit further offshore, has that offshore track. In this scenario, the dry air from this big Arctic high up near Nashville and areas of the Mid-South beats the moisture to the punch. And if it does that, then we're not going to see as much moisture moving further inland, and that takes us out of the snow chances. Not entirely, but it would give us a lot less of those totals, maybe a dusting, and on top of that, we might not see it altogether. And it would be more towards the PD region, Florida, South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, Wilmington, North Carolina, up the mid-Atlantic coast. You know, areas up in New England could see 1 to 3 feet of snow. I actually just talked to one of my good friends and former colleagues, Scott Gagliardi, meteorologist in the Hartford, Connecticut area, and they're forecasting potentially 1 to 3 feet of snow. It's not something we're dealing with here. I texted him. I was like, we could see maybe 1 to 3 inches, and he's like, oh, we could see 1 to 3 feet. So that puts it in perspective, right? Here in the deep south, what we think is significant is chump change to the guys up north. That's for sure. But this is scenario number 2. And if that low moves